Good morning, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us today. I am so excited to have our speaker today. She's a great friend of mine. I call her my friend over the years. Um, Mrs. Debra Powers. Debra was my youngest daughter's kindergarten teacher, and my youngest is in second grade, so it's been some time. But in my personal opinion, I think she's like the best teacher your child can have when they start the school because you want them to know that the school can be fun, learning is fun, and it's such a nurturing environment. And I think she just provides the perfect combination of teaching the materials that your children need to know, but at the same time embracing them with love so that they grow up as like a whole person. So Deborah is available today to be our guest speaker and share some of her knowledge and wisdom with us. And I am just honored and so happy that she's here. So, Deborah, hi.
Good morning. Thank
Good
you, Amy, for your kind
morning.
words. I truly appreciate them. And thank you for inviting me today. I'm so excited to be here to talk about something I truly love, reading aloud to children, to preteens, teens. Read alouds provide amazing foundational pieces, academic pieces, as well as just snuggle time, social emotional connection time. So I'm thrilled to be talking about something I feel really strongly passionate about. And I have been a teacher for 27 plus years, and I've taught at a few schools over the course of my career, starting with preschool, and my years were in two schools in Norwalk and then at Beechwood School in Fullerton. And teaching reading has been one of my favorite parts of teaching throughout the curriculum. So I'm, again, thrilled to be here. I'm also a mom, and I'm recently retired. Thus, I have time in the middle of the morning to be here.
Wow.
And yes, I'm thrilled to be here. So thank you, Amy.
Oh, I was so happy for you that, you had such a successful career, but I felt sad for the families at our school that their younger ones won't be having you as their kindergarten teacher. So,
Oh, thank
there
you.
was kind of a bittersweet moment when you announced your retirement. But I'm so glad that you're available to do something like this, being a guest speaker for our group.
Me
So,
too.
yeah, yeah. Sounds good.
And it's bittersweet. It's bittersweet for me as well because the family connections that I've made over the years are just the icing on top of the cake. And so I am definitely missing those relationships with my little people and with the families as well. So this is a great way to at least virtually stay connected as well.
Sounds good. Sounds good. I'm sure this won't be the last time you'll be visiting our group. So,
I hope.
all right. So, I know that you had some presentation for us. Do you want to you want me to start the
Sure.
slides? All right.
Yes. I'm
So,
going to let
let
Amy be in
me,
control of the comms here.
okay. So, I'm gonna share this.
So all about reading aloud and why they rock. Um,
All right. Sounds good. I think we're ready.
we are. Thank you. Thank you. Live and in person, virtually. Anyway, so read alouds are a time when you're reading with and to your child. And when I say your child, that's all the way preteen and teen. Even though your teenager is going to pretend he or she doesn't want you to read aloud to them with them, don't let them fool you. They are still interested in having stories read aloud to them. Um, During a read aloud, you want your child to actively engage in listening and talking about the text. However, the main point I want to make for today is never take away that love of reading. And this is that snuggle up time. That's maybe in bed, maybe on the couch. Your phones are down. There's no interruption, very little interruption. Hopefully, this may not be something you can do every night, but if you can do it 2 or 3 times a week and have a schedule in place, it will make for lasting memories that go far beyond the academic piece. When you are reading to and with your child, you're creating those those social emotional connections that go far beyond the academic piece. And so the ideas I'm going to present today are not meant to be done all at one time. Choose what your child needs and focus on the academic parts that best suit your child's needs. The main takeaway is you can do this. This is something that you probably already do at home. If you don't, it's never too late to start, no matter how old your child is. The benefits will be long lasting, as I've said. When you are choosing what your child needs to focus on, and I'll get more in depth into that, you want to just focus on one piece at a time. So Amy, let's go to slide 2.
Oh, I love that glitter.
Isn't that fun? I thought so too. Okay, so as I said, why read aloud? Why should we even do this? Because it's fun. The enjoyment of reading is the main thing I want your child to come away with after read aloud time, snuggle time, bedtime reading. This is not really the time that you're going to ask your beginning reader to try to read the entire book. This is the arm around each other, book in hand, putting the book on your lap. Oh my goodness, what just happened? I can't wait to see what happens next. This is that time. But during that excitement time, that enthusiastic time, you are increasing so many skills. You are building skills, and you are increasing their attention span. So when you start, I just selected this book that I have. When you start, this would be for a beginning reader. This would be all the way up through teen. Again, because books are meant to be read and reread, and depending on the age and level of your reader, you're going to do different things with the same book. So in this superhero book, if I have a beginning reader, I'm going to be saying, oh my gosh, let's read this title, Be a Star, Wonder Woman, by the author Michael Dahl. So I've just done a couple of things. I've started on the front cover, I've said the word title, and I've said the word author. It took, 4 seconds? And I've already given some academic support before even opening the book and starting to read. And that's the type of thing that you can do with any book, with any level. It doesn't take any time at all. And then you
Debra,
also want to
so
connect it.
sorry.
Yes.
Yeah, let me just kind of do this so that they can see you. I don't know, somehow my eCam is not allowing them to see you.
Oh, that's
So I
okay.
want to make sure that they can see you while you're presenting. I don't know why it's not. Let me just try it one more time and see. Normally, it allows me to show the speaker at the bottom so that
Sure.
they can see what you're presenting, but today it's not cooperating with me and not letting me show your face. I
That
just
sounds
wish
like
that they can,
technology.
yeah, I wish they can, yeah, I don't know what's happening. So, do you want me to just show your face or should I put the screen back on? How should we do this?
Yeah, put the screen back on.
Okay,
That's fine.
okay.
Visuals that I'm showing, yeah, it's I'm just holding up a book, so put the screen
I'm
back.
so sorry. Normally I can have you come up in like a small screen, but it's not working with me today. So
So when you have the
that's too
slide
bad.
on, then you're just seeing this, right? Not me.
Yeah, just
Okay,
the screen. So I was trying to put you
totally
back
fine.
in, like in the corner, but it's not letting me do that. So, all right. I just want to make sure you're okay with it, because
Yes, no.
all right.
Okay, so when you begin reading, right away you can put in some academic pieces. You want to also have your child start looking at a book they would a movie. So I was holding up a superhero story, a superhero book, and you want to talk to them about their books just like you would a movie. So I could say, I'm going to prime the pump before we start reading. I'm going to activate prior knowledge. Remember that superhero movie that we all watched the other night on Friday night? Oh my gosh, that was so exciting. Well, I wonder what this author in this superhero book is going to do to make this character brave or exciting. And so again, you want to kind of, just like you would a movie, and children know their favorite movies, they know their favorite actors and actresses and singers, and you want to start making books come alive more along those lines, to where they're thinking of books throughout the day the same way they would be thinking of a movie throughout the day. Amy, let's go to slide 2, please. Okay, so earlier I said when you are reading aloud, you want to help your child where he or she is struggling, or perhaps to stretch them if they're what you would consider an above grade level or above age level reader. So you can go to core standards. Oh, sorry, the dub is implied in that first line there. So www.corestandards.org/ELA-literacy. It's actually pretty intuitive. It's pretty user-friendly. When you go to that site, there's going to be a drop-down menu on the right, and you'll click on, there are different sections there that you can choose: literature, information text, think nonfiction, or foundational skills. And once you go to this site, like I said, it's pretty user-friendly and intuitive. So once you select one of those, either literature, info text, or foundational skills, you can then look to the left. You'll scroll to the left, and then you'll see many, many different academic areas that you can focus on. It may be prefixes, suffixes, comparing and contrasting, poetry. There are many different skills there that will give you suggestions for what you can work on with your child during the read aloud. Also, talk to your child's teacher. Where is my child struggling with reading? Where is my child succeeding? On that site, that corestandards.org site, you can go above grade level, you can go below grade level, and really target and pinpoint the areas you want to work on with your child. Now, really, really important, this next statement: don't do more than one at the same time. You really want to never take away from the love of reading, from that snuggle up time, from that, oh my gosh, mom and I, or dad and I are here together, and I get one-on-one time with mom or dad, and this is so great, and I'm so happy. And you never want to take away from that. So you don't want them thinking, okay, mom, this isn't school. This is me and you in bed here reading. So just focus on one, maybe two standards or skills at a time. And you kind of want to be nonchalant about it. You don't want to, not that there's anything wrong with metacognition, like making your thinking public. That's actually a really good thing. But you don't want to keep saying, here's a prefix. Oh, look at this word. There's another prefix. Oh, look on page 3. We found another prefix. Oh, look here. Because then you're taking away from the love of reading. You're taking away from the love of the story. So you want to be a little nonchalant about when you're working on those skills. Let's see. Oh, and similar to when you're in a car with your child, especially preteens and teens who may not always want to have grand conversations with you all the time, car rides are great places for those a little more serious or important conversations. The same thing is true for the read aloud time. So if you already have this read aloud time scheduled, it's part of your day, every day, 1 day a week, 2 days a week, 3 days a week. It's part of your schedule. Even if you've had a little argument earlier in the day with your child, or they just are giving you a little attitude and they may not kind of want to do it, you can kind of put it on yourself, like, hey, honey, you know what? I've had a rough day and I could really use some together time with you tonight during our read aloud. So you kind of put it on yourself. If it's in place scheduled, again, like a car ride, you have a captive audience. It's like, okay, Tuesday at 9, Tuesday at 7:30, this is our time together. And it really allows for some great conversations that stem from the context and the content of what you're reading. When you're looking for what books to read that hit those standards that you can find in corestandards.org, You can just Google search read alouds for 2nd grade, read alouds for 5th grade, read alouds for 6th grade, and you'll find a whole list of books that you can get that will suit the need of your child and for the age that your child, or for the type of reading that your child enjoys. You always want to take your cue from them. If they're into sports, you want to read a lot of stories and texts about sports. If they're into, gardening or whales, that's really obvious, but you don't want to just grab any book that you have at home if they're not into it, because that's not going to be fun for either of you. They're going to be counting down the minutes and you're going to be yawning, and you want to definitely make sure it hits your child's interests. Okay, Amy, let's do the next one. Okay, so when you are reading aloud, you want to make sure that you kind of know ahead of time what you want to talk about. Sorry, I'm looking at my notes here. What you're talking about, the academic part, as well as that social emotional part. So when you're reading a story, I have like a Narnia book here, or the Grouchy Ladybug. Obviously in a story, you have different components than you would in a nonfiction, or also called informational text or expository text. I'll get to that in just a minute. So when you're reading a story, think about the setting, okay? You can talk about the setting. Let me back up. Let me stop for just a minute. Books are meant to be read and reread. You want to read them over and over as much as your child is willing to. As you get a more advanced reader, you don't have to reread an entire chapter, but you definitely want to, again, prime the pump, activate prior knowledge. Before you start reading chapter 4, for example, you want to summarize chapter 3. You want to hold the book, close to your chest and say, oh my gosh, I thought about this character all day. I'm so nervous about what's going to happen. What do you think is going to happen? And you want to get that excitement going again before you start on the next chapter. When you're reading a storybook to a more beginning reader, you want to read it first for the love of the story. You just read it all the way through. Oh my gosh, you put it on your lap and you say, oh, I can't believe that that's how the author ended the story. How would you have ended the story? Okay, then the second time you read it, you can talk about maybe the characters. Again, this goes all the way through very advanced readers. The characters change over time. There are conflicts, there are problems, solutions. This is where there's great dialogue with an older reader about content, the content of the book translating into real world situations. So this is a great time to have a little more serious talk with your preteen and teen about something that the character is doing, where you can give your opinion and values, and it's not so confrontational to your child because you're focused on what the character is doing. So maybe the character's smoking or something, and so you can give your values, your opinions, your guidance on how you feel about that content, that situation of what the character is doing. And again, it's not saying, I heard friends talking about, it puts the onus, puts the emphasis on the character, not your child, but you're still able to give your input. And then also with a story, you have a beginning, middle, and end. You can, the middle of the story is when there's usually a problem. And so again, if it's a more beginning reader, you've already read the story. Maybe Monday night you just read it and you said, oh my gosh, I can't wait to talk about this. I just love what the character did in the middle. The character was so brave. And of course, I keep saying the character, you would be naming the character. You would be naming the name. And in the middle, as I said, when the problem arises, maybe upon this second read, before you start in through the end of the story, you put it down for a minute and you say to your child, oh my gosh, what this problem just happened. What do you think you would do if this problem happened? Again, this is a great social emotional connection time for you with your child about what's happening in the world. And you're giving your opinion, but again, it's based on the character in the story. And then with setting, I think I skipped that one. With setting, remember that setting of stories is not just in the woods. Setting can be a geographical location, a city, state, country, or even an imaginary place. So again, if the setting is in a different country, maybe that sparks interest about that country. And at a future time, you can look up things about that country, maybe the food they eat, the culture. Read alouds just encompass so many ideas and future actions. And it seems like such a simple thing. You're lying in bed and your arms around your child and you're reading. But there are so many deep, impactful moments that come out of it that one might not think about. Again, with setting, maybe it's a social, cultural environment in the book, in the text. A high school book about high school teenagers in the 60s, and maybe the backdrop is Vietnam, and so that could spark a whole different conversation. So when I say talk about setting, again, it might not just be, oh, the setting is they're in the bedroom or they are in the kitchen, right? Setting, it could be a historical time period. So anyway, it really is, it's a jumping off point for so many deeper conversations. Let's go to the next slide, please. Okay, so not all at one time. I did hit upon that. You don't want to, again, say, what was the problem in the story? What was the solution? Where's the setting? What are the characters doing? How is the character changing over time, right? Too much, slow down, pick one thing, maybe two, especially if it's the first read, one or two things that you know your child is struggling with, or one or two things to stretch your reader. Maybe your child is a quite proficient reader. Maybe they're above grade level and the teacher says they're doing great. So you can look at those standards again, go a grade level or two above your child's current grade and pull some skills that are higher level and then throw those in. You're building a strong foundation for skills and standards yet to come. But you never ever want to lose that love of reading time together. That's always paramount. You are their first teacher. You are their lifelong teacher. Your enthusiasm and your connection to books will be contagious. So if you love reading, even if you don't, even if you're kind of like, oh, it's not my thing, fake it. If you show them that you're interested in reading with them, to them, reading a book in general, they're going to be more likely to become lifelong readers. One thing I didn't point out that on the last slide that I wanted to talk about is when you're reading nonfiction or informational text, when you're reading nonfiction, that's a very different read than a story. Think about a nonfiction or an informational text about space, for example. You could open into the middle of that space book and you could see a text, bold words, maybe a table, a chart or graph, and you could read those pages about space and it would make sense to you versus a story where you have to start at the beginning and then hit the middle and then get to the end. Also in informational or nonfiction texts, and again, this is for bedtime reading, you want to show them the table of contents, the contents page. How do you view that? What do you do with this little heading and then ... and a page number? What does that mean? Or you show them the index at the back. So that's a great time to really hit the interests of your child, is by reading at night or whenever you choose to do your read aloud time. Based on your child's interest, get some nonfiction informational books to really further their interest or love of a certain topic. And anytime if you have time to plan in your day, in your week, a little bit of what you're going to do, all the better. Just keep referring to those standards, talking to your child's teacher. If you don't have time, you are still the expert reader. You can still pick up a book. It could be 10 minutes. If you have a half an hour, hallelujah, all the better. But I think all of us can have a 10-minute block that we can devote to reading with our child once a week, twice a week, 4 times a week. And I think it gets rid of a little parent guilt too. We all have mommy guilt, maybe daddy guilt about something that's happened during the week with our child. We were there, or we missed something, we had an argument, we were short, we didn't give full attention, we were looking at our computer, whatever. If you have scheduled time already that, Tuesday at 9 is our read aloud time, it just kind of helps that mommy guilt a little bit, because you already have that scheduled. It's not like you're going, oh, I had an argument and now we're going to read together. It's in place in your home. It's part of your daily routine. And then, you're next to your child, you're reading, you're kind of decompressing, and it really just helps foster a stronger bond on a regular basis. Let's see. I think that's probably it for the main talking time there, Amy.
Let me bring you back.
Please bring me back.
Yes. All right. All right, here we are. Thank you so much. I've been just jotting down some questions. And I just love the fact that you recommend that we block out some time, because as you know, I have 5 children. So when my older children are younger, I really put a lot of focus on having this reading time with them. And it was something that we did. It was like a nighttime routine. They clean up, they brush their teeth. We have like 20, 30 minutes reading time together before they go to sleep. But as my kids got older and I have all these practice schedules, to be honest, my fourth and fifth one don't get as much. So I think I can do 2 or 3 times a week if I set up the time and it's in my schedule. That seems so much more doable. And I
Great.
love how you mentioned about the mommy guilt as well, that
Always.
spending that time with them. And in our busy schedule, sometimes you might have said something, but they might have taken as you snapped at them, so just having that time, bonding time, to kind of let them know, not only just reading, but having that physical connection with them, and just embracing them, that just helps your relationship. I just thought that was such a great tip.
Great. Oh, I couldn't agree more with just your personal experience that you were talking about. Having more than one child, it presents its own challenges, of course, but it doesn't have to be you either. I'm gonna take a little side note here, and maybe one of your older children can be the reader that night. And so if you are just spent and you have just had a day, and even though you have it scheduled, if you need to take 10 minutes for yourself, but your older child can kind of fill in and be the expert reader, there's still snuggle time with the sibling. That's impactful as well. So just another way to kind of, I know we moms, we take on so much, but there are times when enough is enough and we just can't do one more thing. So also just give yourself some grace on that as well. If an older sibling or grandma or grandpa or needs to kind of fill in for that night.
Right. I think the read aloud is a great tool that you're introducing us. Over the years, I kind of changed the way that I raise my children, and my philosophy is getting to know them. Like, I really want to get to know them. And the more I get to know them, I think I can try to be the parent that they need. And recently, I read The Invention of Hugo Cabret with my 2 youngest one, and that was, I don't know if you've read that with the kids, but I love the fact that it had so many pictures, and it's historical because it's based on actual movie that was made. I
Wow.
haven't shown it to them yet, but it's like, I guess the footage is available on YouTube. So
Hmm.
there are a lot of like text pictures that we went through, and the story was interesting because it like would end at a cliffhanger in each
Mhm.
chapter. So I just had such a great time, like reading with my 2 youngest, my second and fifth grader, and then figuring out like what they take from it. Each of them had such different like thing
Absolutely.
that interested them, So my question, I guess, is do you have any like recommendations, certain great books that you can just kind of think about that have worked well for you, either at home or in the class settings?
Mm,
And I'm putting you on the spot.
oh, that's okay. That's okay. The majority of my elementary career has been in kindergarten, so I have just hundreds of favorite kindergarten books. I love the author Mo Willems, and Mo Willems writes very humorous stories, but they're very deep in so many ways. Even though at the outset it looks like, I don't know, they're like 20 pages, there are many speech bubbles, so it really gives the idea of character voice and dialogue. And Mo doesn't use a ton of words, so for struggling readers, it's fantastic because they feel successful that they've read the majority of words in the book. But the meanings behind what Mo writes about, Mo, I say it as if we're friends. The
He's the
meaning,
pigeon guy, right? Like the
yes,
series
yes,
Pigeon.
uh-huh. It's often about deep feelings and friendship and help and support, and there's inferences to be taken from it. So any Mo Willems book, even for teens, like I said, it looks very simple. Never discount how great a picture book a picture book can be for every level of reader. Um, Look, a tried and true. Okay, Grouchy Ladybug. Everybody's heard this story, right? The Grouchy Ladybug by Eric Carle. The Grouchy Ladybug, read aloud. You could focus on insects. There are tons of insects in the book, right? So Eric Carle also is another recommended author for you. You could focus on time. Maybe your child is struggling with time. The Grouchy Ladybug is all about different time slots with the insects coming together to fight. It's about emotions. You could focus on emotions. You could focus on inference. Why is the Grouchy Ladybug saying, oh, you're not big enough, and flies away? So never discount, even if your child, no matter what age they are, the importance and the benefit of a picture book for all levels of readers. So Mo Willems, Eric Carle, oh gosh, The Mitten. I can't think of her. It'll come to me in just a minute. I can't think of it right now, but the author of The Mitten and the Hat. Jan Brett. There we go, Jan Brett.
Okay.
Another one of my favorite authors. And again, it's for many levels, not just even. So don't be fooled if it looks like a simple picture book. There are always deeper themes. Not always. There may be deeper themes within each of those authors' works.
Okay. Sounds good. Yeah, I totally agree with you. You know, I would be reading some of these picture books that I thought were for the kids, and I'll be reading and I'm like, "Oh, wow, it's pretty profound, the message that's there, you know." So,
Oh, oftentimes I'm moved to tears on a quote child's picture book, and yeah, there are content and themes in there that can be very rich and rewarding.
sounds good. I have some other questions. What do you think about graphic novels? I know there are just a lot more than there were before, and my kids seem to enjoy them.
Oh, they're great. They're great. You often see a character change over time throughout a graphic novel, and again, you're getting the dialogue. You know exactly which character is speaking and why, and there's a lot of punctuation that you can emphasize as the adult reader throughout a graphic novel. So they're great, and they're very inviting visually. I think students are drawn to them. There is a lot going on. There are often many different colors and illustrations on each page that I think they're great. If your child is into them, I wholly support reading them.
Okay. And then for summer, I was thinking about creating some sort of a reading group for especially for my second grader. But you know, as a second grader, they're still kind of learning to read, and I feel like there might be more disparity in the reading level, perhaps, among the students. Would you have some recommendation for like how I can get the group together? You know, how it can be a fun event, but at the same time, everybody feels like they're getting something out of it, so that, you know. Like I'm sure it's kind of like a similar situation in your class with the kindergartners with different
Right.
reading capability, right?
Right. Are you wanting to put together a reading group of her friends? So you want
Yeah,
to have
some
a
of her
like a
friends, I
reading
was
club?
thinking. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's what I was thinking.
Well, there are different ways you can do that. So if you want them all to be reading the same book and then have like a book club to talk about it, that's something that the two of you could read ahead of time. So you say, okay, everybody, next time we get together, we're going to talk about, chapter 3, or we're going to talk about pages 5 through 17 or whatever.
Hmm.
So you could read those ahead of time with your child and ask her to read. So you, if it's just the two of you, and so there's no pressure and stress, you can do my turn, your turn. So maybe I read a sentence or a paragraph or a page, and then
Hmm.
the child reads it. Or maybe I read one page and my child reads the next page. So again, if
Okay.
it's just the two of you, there's no stress, there's no pressure. Maybe I read the whole page and then my child rereads the whole page. But so you're just giving your child that practice before they're in front of their peers when they might be embarrassed if they don't know a word or they don't
Right.
understand the content. Um, and then if you're facilitating the group, um, you can, and you know her friends, so you can kind of um, select those readers that are willing to read aloud in front of their friends, or select the reader who has great comprehension and maybe can remind us of what we read last time before we begin reading. So as an involved mom that I know you are, you would know her friends, you would know your child's friends, and you'd be able to highlight their successes within the group. But behind the scenes, I would just recommend pre-reading and pre-talking about the book before getting together with peers.
Sounds good. Yeah, I mean, to be honest, I don't know her friends as well because she's my youngest.
Well,
I,
you know, pandemic year doesn't count in real time, so we'll let that one go.
yeah, there's that mommy guilt coming from my
Well,
like oldest to my
you'll
youngest.
get to know them when you do this reading club. See,
Yeah, that'll be a great
there's a
opportunity.
social benefit right there.
Yeah, yeah. For those of you who are watching our conversation, if you have any questions, I know Julia said, "Hi, Mrs. Powers, Kindle, who's on break right now. They wanted to say hi." And I think
Oh, hi,
Erin Molino
Kendall.
sent out a heart. So,
Oh,
yeah, so if you guys have any questions, please write them on the comment section, and I'll try to ask, I'm still used to calling you Mrs. Powers, but Deborah, those questions.
thank you.
Yeah. Sounds good. I just love like what you said about just read aloud. It just encompasses so many things, helping them with reading instructions and improve vocabulary, reading between the lines. When I
Yes.
look at the new Common Core, I'm like, oh my gosh, they're asking the kids to really, get a lot out of the text that they're reading at an earlier age than
Right.
it was before. So I just think that, having spending that time with your child will be very beneficial for them to get that
Absolutely.
softer skills.
I want to go back based on what you just said to the grouchy ladybug. So in case someone doesn't know the story, the ladybug is very grouchy and tries to be all big and tough and meets all these different insects and animals and pretends that he wants to fight, but he really doesn't. And in the end, a kind ladybug who has befriended him at the beginning of the story once again welcomes him home at the end of the story. And so it's really about friendship and emotions. It's not really about this ladybug meeting all these other animals. So there's lots of inference that can be pulled from that. And a great way to show that, because you just mentioned reading between the lines and whatnot, would be on one of the pages to say, gosh, I understand that the ladybug is grouchy and wanting to fight. Why do you think the ladybug is doing that? Well, the ladybug is afraid. And you say, oh, exactly. But it doesn't ever say, it never says on one page, this ladybug is afraid. And so when you help them realize, and you say like, and you pretend to be turning the pages, like, where does it say that it's afraid? You're right. The ladybug is afraid. Then you're pretending to search through the text to find it. You say, oh my gosh, you just made an inference based on what we know about this character. You made an inference that the ladybug is afraid, even though, and you're flipping through, you're making these grand gestures. It never says that. So that's one way that your child can actively participate in reading between the lines. And you want to make that known, like, put the book down. You just made an inference. It never said that. And yet you're right, blah, blah, blah. And so that reading between the lines part, when you come across that during your read aloud time with your child, you want to make that known. You want to make that public of what you did or what your child did that's not implied explicitly in the text. That make sense?
Yes. Yeah, I love the fact that, at school they learn how to do certain skills. But
Mhm.
I feel like you're taking that on, and if we can have this read aloud time with our children, you make it really clear for them and make that learning live. Like it's like it becomes part of who they are, and they know how to use it in their lives.
Yeah.
So just a great, great tool. And thank you so much for introducing to us and giving us tools and telling us the resources where we can find books that's going to be appropriate. Because, I've learned so much about dinosaurs and airplanes, but my oldest was little bit young, and trucks, fire engines. I mean, I've learned so much about those things that I never would have read by myself because that's all the books that he wanted to read when he was little.
There you
So,
go.
and you live and learn. I mean, now I can impress somebody with some random knowledge about a certain kind of airplane. Like that mom knows that airplane. I need to do more with my younger ones like that. But but thank you so much. We're reaching about 40 minutes, so we'll
Oh,
try to,
okay.
wrap up the session. Do you have any
Yes.
final advice or final words for the people who are watching this and the parents, who look up to you for some wisdom, who are raising our children and trying to do something for them in our busy lives?
Do it. Just do it. Make that schedule right now. Make that schedule. If it's one day a week, put it in place. Wednesday at 8:30, and give yourself 15 minutes. Everybody has 15 minutes that they can put in their day, unhurried, phones away, that they can devote to their child. And even if, what I don't want to say all you do is read, because that implies that that's a little skill. Even if you only have 15 minutes and you read the story straight through, you're still going to be getting the benefits. Your child's going to be getting benefits from that time together. It will not be wasted time. And it's, when your child is an adult, you will never regret that amount of time that you spent one-on-one or one-on-two. Maybe you have twins, maybe you have multiple children. You will never regret that time. So do it. Put it in place right now. Give yourself 15 minutes. If you can do more, great. If you have 10 minutes, but you can do it.
Sounds good. Thank you so much for your encouragement. And I guess my last question is, can we reach you still? Like, how can we find you? Because your school address, email address doesn't work anymore. So would you be
Yeah.
willing to share, like, let us know where we can connect with you?
If you want to put up that first slide again, just anytime, it's just Debra Powers. So it's Debra, Debra Powers at cox.net.
Okay,
Debra
let me
Powers
just
at
put that up
cox.net.
really quick so that
Yep.
people can
Very first one.
capture that. Let me see.
And
Okay, so I need to go
and
back, actually.
I'm pretty good at getting back to people in a timely manner. So
Okay.
I love to talk about
This
reading.
one.
So if yes, right there. If you have any questions or comments or suggestions for future talks, whatnot, I'm yours.
Sounds good.
Thank you,
Once again,
Amy.
thank you. Thank you so much for spending your day with us, giving us this tool, because I just feel like we can just use it in so many different ways. And now I'm like thinking about how I'm gonna use it with my older children as well too, because now that they know how to read and write, but I feel like my role has changed. Now I need to kind of teach them how to live their life. So even those picture books sounds great with I'm gonna go back and look at Mo Willems' books and they're uh they haven't written down like given permission to ECAM to use their names. I'm gonna check my phone because people are saying thank you to you, thank you, Mrs. Powers. You're the
Oh,
best.
you're
So
welcome. Thank
yeah,
you. Thank you. Thank you.
sounds good. Thank you so much. Have a wonderful day.
You too.
All
Bye,
right.
everybody. Thanks,
Bye
Amy.
bye. Thank you so much for joining us today. I hope you found this tool of reading aloud and spending time with your children useful. As you know, I have five children, ages ranging from 7 to 18. I have one boy and four girls, but I plan on using this skill in some way because I think that, for example, Mo Willems' book can be useful for my 7-year-old as well as my 18-year-old, or even 45-year-old like me. So it has so many meanings, and I hope you found that information useful and try to go back to your calendar and set the time with your children right after you finish watching this. Thank you once again for joining us today. I look forward to bringing you some other great contents and other great guest speakers. If there's any topic or any other guest speaker you would like to see in our group, please send me a message or make a comment under this video, and then I'll try to arrange that and make that happen for you. Have a great day. Bye.